welcome to On the Table with Sambo. And today I'm very, very happy to have with me today here Damian McGee from the Exchange Hotel in Gawler. Welcome, Damian. Morning, and Tom Lane from certainly two very busy news agencies in our town with the Main Street and the Gawler Green. But on top of that, as with Damian, certainly been involved with football all his life, but this year you're the captain of the Tigers.
President of the
Tigers. President of the Tigers. Sorry, sorry.
A bit too old to play, mate. Anyway. A bit too old to play.
But Piercy will kill me. He's got to service my car tomorrow. But yeah, no, it's great. And what Shane and Alex are doing here is to be able to just have a chat about our community, the community that we're involved with by not only businesses but also involved with many of the different aspects of tourism, trade or whatever. Most people living in a town like this, they say, oh, they're not involved with tourism, but anybody that comes from any further than 20 kilometres is a tourist to our town. And certainly both of you people with your businesses rely on that tourist person to come into the town and enjoy what you have to offer. And certainly, Damian, I'll go over to you. In recent years, the amount of work that you've done with the Exchange Hotel in conjunction with working with the owners, it's certainly been great. You've certainly moved it into one of the great entertaining places in our town by way of the meals and all of the various things that you offer there for all ages. And I think that's the big important thing, is that whether it's to do with Tom and the news agencies and all, we're dealing with all ages from, the toys that Tom might sell to the kids right up to the old farts like me that want to read the stock journal every week and find out about whether the sheep are more money than they are. So perhaps, Damien, over to you, if you can just tell us a little bit about your business and what it's been like over the last few years and all the development you've done there, and certainly this terrible disease that's hit us in our community and what it's actually done to your business.
Yeah, thanks, Brian, and morning, Tom.
How are you?
Good to be here. It's first of all to speak about a little bit the business. I've owned the business now for 8 years, and we underwent a major redevelopment in conjunction with the landowners. It's cost the family 5 years ago. Right. So we employ 33 local staff, which we're very proud of, and sponsor 21 different sporting and community groups through the local Gawler and surrounds community. To get to your question around and how COVID-19 has affected us, it was quite an amazing experience to go through from an owner's and business point of view, but it's not lost on me and our staff at the hotel as well, but this is actually a health crisis first. So, while there certainly is a level of, concern and pessimism around the business, but, our hearts always go out to people first that have lost family members or people that have actually come quite sick through this disease. But to get back to the business, it was quite a bizarre experience. I was actually overseas and reading how Australia was going crazy buying toilet paper. And when we got back, into Australia, what I was reading was true. It was, empty supermarket shelves. And I quite often talk about the journey that I got back from overseas. It took 8 days basically to have 8 years of hard work go down the drain in terms of the business and the effect. On my staff was just terrible. Having to stand down, 30 plus people on one morning was really harrowing for them, and I had a bit of, felt sorry for myself, but I had to put myself in their shoes obviously first. It was just terrible. So, but the federal government stimulus has allowed us to bounce back. We've got 21 staff on JobKeeper, which is fantastic. So it allows us to keep some people working, and we're really, really grateful and overwhelmed by the support of our community. Coming to help us where they can. We're really, truly grateful, and we're in a very special place to be.
Yep. No, well, that's great, and certainly. The many times that I and my family and that have attended, and with the staff, as you say, with 33 staff, the quality of those staff has certainly been hand-picked by yourself, and most of them are local people, which is such a great asset for a town when a business person looks at the local content of the people in our town to get those jobs. How does a person like Damian McGee relax?
Relax. It's a good question. And if you ask my wife, she says that I never relax. But I spend a lot of time mentally regulating. I meditate a couple of times a day, both in the morning and at night. I'm still trying to be active as much as I can. Doing some physical activity. Trust me, my body's not a temple, but I just try to keep moving all the time as well. I write down goals, and it helps me get realistic about what we can and can't achieve. And I have a wonderful supporting wife and a brilliant 3-year-old daughter who really keeps me in check and keeps me really grounded.
Yeah, that's great. No, well, that's really good. And it's interesting to know what you do in your free time, and that I thought you may well have been involved with, say, some sporting things like motorbikes or cars.
No, I am president of the mighty Xavier Saints Tennis Club, and I still play tennis competitively. At the hotel, we sponsor a number of sporting clubs, including Tom's Gawler Central Tigers. But I must admit, when it comes to footy clubs, I am a Donnybrook at heart. So sorry, Tom, but we like to sponsor as many clubs as we can, and I like to get out and see what they're doing on weekends. And we're very, very lucky in Gawler. So many of our sporting clubs, and especially football and netball clubs, are not to downplay any other supports who are getting more and more significant, but they are such a social fabric of our community, and they have been for a very long time. And even in a crisis such as now with COVID, the roles that football and netball clubs have to play in terms of mentally supporting community members and their memberships is really important. And I think all three of the footy and netball clubs are just doing a fantastic job at the moment.
No, well, that's great. I certainly know that every time that my wife and the family go and have a lovely meal there, and you have the beautiful Speedway Sidewinders bike down the bottom. Well, I had a big lose off of that when I was riding it at Raleigh Park many years ago, and that's why I always booked the table next to it. I just like to look down at it and see, you didn't kill me.
Sambo, only if social media was around then, it would have been a great thing to have a look at, I reckon.
Well, when I saw the bike when we were first having lunch there, I thought to myself, I reckon that's that one that threw me down at Raleigh Park. And of course, my son said, Raleigh Park? Where was that? Because it was a long time ago. And certainly your father probably would have been there and enjoyed that in that way. So, Damian, that's great. And certainly Gawler's so very proud to have the enthusiasm that you have to supporting the local people, because without that enthusiasm, things just don't happen. So, Tom, I'll go over to you. Tom, this week's local rag, the Bunyip, had a really good write-up in there about your football team, the Central Tigers, and like every day you pick the paper up now or you watch the telly or whatever, it's football, football, football. But the trouble is there's no football. Yeah. So, without a doubt, I think we're all hoping, and many thousands and thousands, and now with the invent of women being involved with football and filling the stadiums with 85,000 people as they did down at Adelaide Oval, there's a lot of people out there that can't wait to it to come back. Have you got any green lights that you're seeing at this particular point in time as to when it may come back?
Yeah, look, we are, and every week changes, which is good. It's a really fluid environment at the moment. Had asked me this a month ago, I was fairly certain we wouldn't be getting much going this year, but things have changed, and that's certainly about the health situation more than anything, as Damo touched on before. Look, we're waiting for the announcement tomorrow of the state government, the federal government, the cabinet meeting they're going to have, and then from that, the state government, and then the AFL one on Monday. So we've already got things in place for Monday night. We're having a meeting as a club to where do we go. What we don't want to do is overstep the mark or go early. We want to make sure we do whatever we need to within line with the SANFL, because that's who we're registered with. We're actually not registered with the AFL, so we have to do whatever's in line with the SANFL Community Football League. They've been really proactive in giving communication and telling us where we're at. Look, we think it's close, but as I stipulated in the paper, we're in a very financially strong situation as a club. Probably fortunately, but probably good management through a lot of club presidents prior to myself as well. So we could play a few games without doubt, without crowds. There's no doubt about that. but to sustain it for, say, 9 rounds or 4 home games, it'd be very difficult. We need that subsidised gate takings, canteen, bar taking, just to be able to subsidise some of the costs. Because we're not talking about match payments. We're talking about putting a game on. We've got under 9s, 2 under 9s, 2 under 11s, under 13s, under 15s, 17s, Bs and As.
Yep.
Then you've got women's footy, 3 teams of women's footy. There's 12 teams. They all need strapping. The trainers do it for nothing, but the cost of the strapping costs is $6 to $8 grand a year.
Yeah.
And little things like that people don't think of. Line marking, who's going to do the line marking? Every club's the same. We're no Robinson Crusoe there. So every club, and we speak to a lot of, all the presidents get together on the phone, just check each other out, because it's a very good community, a good tight-knit group of presidents. We get on really well. Contrary to some people's belief, but we actually do. And, just the individual conversations. We're all on the same page, and we're all supporting each other. If we need to, we'll do whatever's needed to done to get footy back in the community. Because I think, as you touched on before, as for Damo's point about getting a community-based environment where your pub is, I think footy clubs and netball clubs and all sporting clubs, tennis clubs, play that part as well. Absolutely. We're seeing every night posts on our own Facebook pages what guys and girls are doing to keep active. We've got our captain has put out a challenge every week, so that who's done the most kilometres in running for the week gets and we have all these gifts that we give them. It's all instigated by the players. But coming back to it, the club itself, we are really determined to make sure we get the games this year, but only if it meets the guidelines of the health authorities. Yeah. If it does go ahead, yes, we can, but we are adamant that we need to have crowds. Now, how that goes with social distancing and all those restrictions we've got on, we'll have to wait and see. That's why we're waiting for an announcement. Once the announcement comes, we can then set things in place as to how we're going to, A, start training, and B, start playing.
Yeah, that's spot on. And I think what's come out in what you just said then is very similar to what Damian's saying about the fact that it's going to happen. And we've just got to work together now with each other. And I certainly know that your passion to do with the game, if somebody's home there and bored and think, when am I going to get back into being out in the field there? But you're available to talk to.
Absolutely.
And, it's the same with Damian, even though it may well be the thing is to get together and to be able to support and help the young people that are thinking about the point of when am I going to get back on that footy field or that netball court or whatever it may be. And also, you're a pretty busy man, being involved with the news agency businesses and that sort of thing, and delivering a paper to everybody every morning. I don't know how they get up that early to wrap the papers and deliver them around, but when
they do a good job.
When I go out to feed my magpies, normally the paper's ready there for me, so thanks very much. But how do you find there... I've got to personally say, I don't think I've ever found a staff member in either of your businesses that aren't so very personal. So obviously there's a lot of personal training and effort goes into that, and that's so important, whether it's a child for a little toy or, as I said, a book that somebody might be interested in some other type of hobby. How do you manage a lot and still be very much involved with sports like you are?
Okay, so probably a good answer to that is I have great staff, as you've touched on. And those staff, ironically, were given to me by Barry Humphries when I took the business on. So I didn't have to go out and find my own. He gave me and nominated different people that were already there as a manager, front of store person in both stores. So I'm forever grateful for the people that he's given me, and it's his training. I won't take the rap for that. He's done a lot of good work there. We have had some new staff come on, which of course we have to then upskill. Look, how do I do it? They manage the shop. So I have a manager in the store, Kaylee. She manages both shops. And at the front of the shop in the main street, we've got Kelly and we've got Talia at Northern News Agency. So they run it. I let them... They run things by me, but what do you think needs happening? I'm very open to they know what's going on. I don't. I'm not in the shop 24/7. They know the customer wants, they know the needs, they know the different climate and environment that's coming through. And they come to me and say, look, we need to do this. We've changed hours. Look, we've changed our opening hours purely to sit in line with the COVID reaction that Coles have done. Because we work so closely with the opening hours of Coles, whatever Coles do, we do. Yeah. So they've now, I think you'll find tomorrow, they've taken away, I might be wrong, but I think they've taken away tomorrow the senior hour from 7 till 8. So we've gone from opening at 8:30 to go back to 7:30. So we catch those senior people who they don't want to come back in after they leave the shop at 8 o'clock and come back and get their paper. They want to get it all in one hit. Now that's not happening. We're just sort of being flexible to move, and that's all driven by the staff. So I've given them a lot of autonomy to come to me and say, hey, we need to do this, need to do that. Now, yes, I still have the final say, but I'm very big on being very, what's the sort of word for it? Collaborative, probably, in all we do. And the same as the footy club. So I'm not the footy club. I'm just a custodian of it for a couple of years. And when we have a committee meeting, I don't even vote. Like, so what's going on? I might have a completely different view to what's going on, and I'll say my view, but I don't have the final say. I think that, you know, that sort of, I'll use the word leadership, can sometimes be detrimental to the organisation, regardless what it is, whether it be business or sport. You've got to have the collaborative, because what happens then is you get the people that are making the decisions actually get behind the decisions and can then, rather than one person make the decision, everyone's behind it and they can all drive it. And I find that that's the best way of management. You know, before I was with news agencies, it's only been 18 months. I was involved heavily with Woolworths in a senior management role, and that's where I probably learnt what to do and what not to do. It's probably more, a lot of it was how not to manage, not to no blight on Woolworths. It's about being in all the different situations where you stuff up and where you don't, and where not to go there again. So that's how I manage it. You know, I have my daughter lives at home with me. She's very supportive. She's a real go-getter. She, you know, works herself, and she's been captain of the Xavier College, but she's a real go-getter herself, and she helps me, keeps me on the straight and narrow when I step out of line. Don't you worry about that. So I just think it's just about giving people a chance to have their say. You know, you don't give everybody a chance, I suppose, but you take the good with the bad and cop the feedback.
Yeah, sounds like you were talking about my wife.
Yeah.
And my wife Gladys always puts me back in line too. It's really interesting with the books that you sell. You know, when it comes to the magazines and the huge variety of hobbies and, well, I probably buy the Speedway books and things like that. But have you noticed a change in what people were buying and purchasing? I mean, certainly Kelly and the girls would keep up to date with the requests that people would ask. But has there been any sort of a change where people now are doing more handyman and that type of...
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. We've seen that the Sudokus, crosswords and all those sit-at-home puzzle books are flying out the store. They're on both shops. So what we've actually done is brought them to the front of the store more, rather than get people going in the back. They're right there. A selection of them, the rest are down the back of the store. But and jigsaw puzzles. I was fortunate.
Is that so?
Fortunate that
Damian,
something to do to wind down.
And I'd never done a jigsaw puzzle in my life. Bought 1,000-piece one myself. Did it in 3 weeks with my daughter. And we got glue. You stick it all together. Now we've got it framed up. It's excellent. And we just can't keep up with jigsaw puzzles. So I was fortunate, as I said to you before. I've got a partner who's involved in the games and jigsaw puzzle world through Toy World and so forth, and she convinced me. She said, you need, you know, jigsaw puzzles, and I said, oh, okay. So I went to the Toy Fair in Melbourne and bought a selection of, I think I bought 15 boxes, and I've got no boxes left at home. They're all on show. We've only got a select few left.
It's fantastic.
It's amazing. Even the girls who give me feedback, as I said, you're mad. So I put a little selection out and then they just go. So now we're into games like, what do you call it, battleships and 4 in a row and chess and drafts. They're just going off the shelves. People coming in and saying, here, you got drafts. Have you got drafts? Thanks.
Nerds are always going to rule the world, weren't they, Tom?
That's right.
That's really great.
So,
because I mean to say, you know, there's certainly been a lot of changes in our community with things, but it's interesting on that because a very good friend of mine, Rob Goy, who sadly is in elder care at the moment. He's 2 years younger than me. With sadly that terrible disease called Alzheimer's. And it blew me away to think that, you know, there he is now, not enjoying life like I am, sort of thing, and so forth. And so the first question to my daughter that works at the doctor's surgery as a receptionist, ask her the question about the fact is there any symptoms about way an old fart like me can sort of keep myself active and so forth. And one of the interesting parts was that, you know how when you turn the telly on and you can read the words they're saying? Well, I annoy hell out of my wife when I sit up in bed at watching telly, and she says, turn that down, turn that down. So now I actually watch the shows and read the terms, and they tell me that that's very good for stopping our timers. So whether it's going to help or not, I don't know. But you know, like you say, here everybody is now doing jigsaws and all these other things. So it's interesting the way things can change because the virus hits our community in that way. So look, Tom and Damian, I think it's just great that you're here today. We're talking quite openly about the fact of where we're heading. I honestly believe we're going to go forward bigger and stronger into the future. You're both very passionate about the businesses in what you run. You're also very passionate about listening to the staff. The other day I was down at the exchange for a meeting, 2 metres apart and all that sort of stuff. And one of the top dogs in Damian's business, he showed us how to build put together a
cocktail.
A cocktail.
Yeah.
And so that night I went home and said to my wife, I'm going to make a cocktail. Well, she was asleep within 15 minutes, so it really bothered me. And
new career for you, Sambo.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and find out.
Every pub in Gawler's going to want him.
Yeah.
34 employees.
He's fantastic, and but as Damian's saying, with the new start and that sort of thing, this is certainly going to bring some back, and I'm sure that you're all going to be going from strength to strength in the town of Gawler, and everything will be back to normal as soon as it's possible. So Gawler once again will be the best of town and country, and we'll all move forward successfully. So thank you very much for your time today.
Brian.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Sambo. Thanks, Tom. Cheers.
No worries.